This mini server rack is housing a bare metal Kubernetes cluster, an 8-port Ubiquiti PoE switch, and a patch panel. But that's just the beginning. You can do so much more with this thing. This is the RackMate T1 by DeskPi. It's an 8U server rack measuring 11 inches wide, 16 inches tall, and 8 inches in depth. When I set down the path of learning Kubernetes, I knew that I wanted to run a bare metal cluster, but I didn't exactly know how I would house the tiny computers. I thought maybe I might build something, then I looked at some tiny storage shelves, but then I got on Amazon and I searched tiny server rack. And there it was. I knew at first sight it was perfect. Since I have such huge clout on YouTube, I reached out to DeskPi to see if they would send me a unit to test. And naturally, they agreed.
It's a Christmas miracle.
This video is an honest review with no input whatsoever from DeskPi, but I am ever so grateful that they sent me this tiny product to test out. The aluminum chassis has a brushed metal texture, and all of the pieces fit together really well. It feels nice and sturdy once you get it put together, and the tinted plexiglass windows on the side are a nice touch. This is much easier to put together than IKEA furniture. It comes with clear, easy to read instructions that go step by step. It took me about 15 minutes to get it together. One potential downside is the plexiglass top. I read some reviews where people had issues with the plexiglass cracking as they tightened the top screws that hold the handles. I personally did not experience this, but it's just something to be aware of when you're putting this thing together. Don't over tighten the screws on top. This little rack is modular like Legos or your favorite fast food mix and match. There are so many different options for different devices. You could fit a 4-bay NAS in here. You could put an ITX motherboard in here. You can run Raspberry Pis horizontally, vertically, probably upside down if you wanted to. There's room for an NVIDIA Jetson Nano. You could run SSDs. You could run 3.5-inch hard drives. You could also put a Mac Studio in here and have some decent AI capabilities. There are a variety of shelf options, including a 1U, a half U. There is an SBC shelf, which you can mount Raspberry Pis on. There are a variety of cable management accessories. There's even a small touchscreen that you could probably do some pretty cool stuff with. I saw Jeff Geerling did a video where he used it for some of his home assistant automations, and he even played a game on it, which was pretty cool. One small qualm I had with the patch panel accessory in particular was that I couldn't mount it as close as I wanted to my switch. And the reason for that is because the holes that are drilled on the patch panel are not wide enough to allow you to screw the patch panel into the upper threads. So all that means is you have to lower it by one position on the rack, and it just leaves a little gap in between my switch and the patch panel. It's more of a me being particular kind of thing and not really a deal breaker. In terms of use cases, where does your imagination want to go? You could build your own NAS. You could build an AI supercluster in this thing if you wanted to, or you could build a slick Kubernetes cluster like I did. There's plenty of room for all of your IoT devices, your Philips Hue Hub, Samsung SmartThings. Any IoT device that has an external controller would fit perfectly in a little rack like this. You can even fit audio-video equipment in here. I think another cool use case would be having a modular hardware loadout. Say if you had a job that required you to travel around and use different small pieces of hardware that you needed managed, you could easily build out this rack to house every little device that you needed to make your job easier. And it's got these nice handles on top, so you just lug the thing around wherever you want to go. In the box, you're going to get a 1U shelf, an SBC shelf, one of these cover plates here, and you're going to get a couple of micro HDMI to HDMI adapters for Raspberry Pis. All of those accessories and the pieces to put this rack together come in a well-packaged box. everything is nice and organized, and it makes it super easy to get started. I think one final thing to mention is the third-party support for these miniature racks like this. There are a lot of people making cool 3D printed parts for these racks. Even for these HP EliteDesk computers, I found custom 3D printed faceplates where the computer fits like perfectly in the faceplate, and there's room to add HDMI ports or an Ethernet port on the front of the rack. And I think that that support is only going to continue to grow as more and more people get into this kind of like miniaturized home labbing type thing. I mean, I'm just now starting my journey. I've had a home lab for a long time, but it's a giant gaming PC in the closet right over there that I've had for a decade now. And now that I have this rack, I'm getting more and more curious about like, how small can I go? What's my power footprint? How much can I cram in one device? And just thinking of different ways to organize these devices and keep my cabling clean. I really like the idea of the 3D printed support, because if you have a 3D printer, then you can make some super cool stuff and share it with other people. And there's plenty of designs out there where you can go download stuff that people have already made and print it yourself. Overall, I'm really pleased with this miniature server rack. I think this is such a cool little market that GeekPi has gotten into that opens the door for a lot more customization in people's home labs, because space is limited, and it's really cool to figure out what we can put where and how we can reduce our physical footprint in our home server closets. So I'm really interested to see what you all would build with this thing, or maybe you already have one of these racks. I would love to hear more about what people are housing in these racks. You know, I have my one use case here, but I know that there are just so many more out there. Anyways, I want to thank you all for watching this video. It means so much to me that people tune in and check out this content. I'm excited to share these projects with everyone, and so I'm just so grateful that people watch these videos. And I hope that you found this video helpful and you learned something, and I will see you on the next one.